Billie Eilish is in a class of her own. Unless you've been living under a rock, then you're probably familiar with the 17-year-old prodigy. And she is truly one of a kind. Her emo gaze and subtle dark vibes make her seem like she came straight out of a horror movie. And we absolutely love it. But there's a sad story behind her music that'll make you appreciate what she's gone through in her young life. So make sure you watch this video until the end to see why this young music artist is so controversial. The 17-year-old singer is on the brink of stardom, but she's managed to stay pretty level-headed so far. Billie Eilish is the poster child of a new style of music that's resonating with millions, and she's not afraid to be herself, even when that raises a few eyebrows. Her playful songs are redefining pop music one hit at a time. Just ask any of her over 13 million Instagram followers who keep tabs on her every move. But her songs can often be a bit unnerving. They have a serious dark undertone to them at times, and that's starting to get her in trouble. Some people are even questioning if Billie's music is perhaps too grim for this generation. But her dark and often violent lyrics seem to resonate with her die-hard fans. Her 2016 debut single, Ocean Eyes, went viral seemingly overnight. It accumulated over 14 million streams so far, and the harmonious ballad was the first of many. She signed on with major label Interscope Records, and things only got better from there. Billie is a musical prodigy, and she uses her gift to play around with genres and express her innermost private thoughts. The LA singer boasts over 1 billion streams on Spotify, which is pretty cool for a 17-year-old, right? She even has a song on the 13 Reasons Why soundtrack. Needless to say, Billie has quite a bright future ahead of her, and the fact that she's so young makes her achievements even more breathtaking. But not everyone is on board the Billie Eilish train, particularly because of the nature of her music. Some people are even starting to call Billie the Queen of Misery. No one can deny that Billie is a natural-born artist. At 17 years old, she's redefining the rules of the music industry. But there are a couple of experts and fans who believe she's the new face of misery music, which is pretty dangerous when you consider her fan base is so young and impressionable. Take the song Lovely, for example. It's one of Billie's most popular 2018 music videos, but in the YouTube comment section, fans are leaving some concerning comments. Some are praising her for being so in tune with her own struggles, feelings of sadness, and complex emotions. Some are loving the fact that Billie represents what teenagers are truly feeling, that not everyone out there can be as happy and bubbly as JoJo Siwa, for example, who's about the same age as Billie. Other commenters express that Billie's songs help them cope with their own struggles. In a way, it looks like Billie's fans are finding solace and understanding in her voice, even if some people feel like her gloomy melodies are a bit depressing. But this genre of misery music isn't exactly new. Artists have always found a way to convey strong emotions. In fact, it helps a lot of listeners to relate to and cope with whatever they're feeling at the time. Besides, it's not like Billie's music is making anyone depressed, right? After all, isn't everyone dealing with their own emotional ups and downs? Her music acts like a coping mechanism, and you certainly can't blame Billie for everyone else's issues. So naturally, fans are quick to defend their queen, claiming no one has the right to explain how teenagers feel unless they're teens themselves. And Billie's lyrics resonate with her fans because she understands this generation. But many people are a bit confused by her whole vibe. Perhaps it's got a lot to do with Billie's storytelling style. In a world where Nicki Minaj and Ariana Grande reigned supreme, people were aching for a new sound to hit the radio, and Billie was exactly what everyone was asking for. Her songs are pretty haunting, but her lyrics are simply terrifying. Her hit song, Bellyache, is about murdering her friends. In it, she sings about being a psychopath who's just iced some of her besties. Then there's the dark, violent lyric from her song, Bury a Friend. According to Billie, the lyrics are sung from the perspective of a monster that's living under her bed. No wonder people are starting to question why teenagers are identifying so much with her. And with lines like, I wanna end me, we get why some parents are clutching their pearls with disbelief. Her tracks often come off as sadistic and intimidating. She also sings about burning someone's car in Watch. She even talks about stealing your soul and hiding you in her treasure chest in Hostage. So clearly, Billie isn't your typical girly girl pop star. But since most artists sing about things that come from within, you have to ask yourself, where's all this anger and pain coming from? Is there something in Billie's past that's inspiring her to write these insane songs? Well, some people seem to think Billie is going through some sort of depression. Billie is seemingly on an emo roller coaster ride, which some would claim is typical for most teens. She's not afraid to post her dark thoughts either, like the time she tweeted, "I'm obsessed with pain." But is her dark vibe the result of some serious mental health problems? Her song "Bury a Friend" pays tribute to personal demons, and it certainly freaked out a lot of people. Then again, it's no secret that those living in the limelight suffer from emotional and mental issues. With tragic Hollywood endings like Chester Bennington and Mac Miller, it's obvious the entertainment industry can wreak havoc on people's mental health. So we totally appreciate that she's expressing her vulnerability through music. But some people are wondering if she's romanticizing death in a way. Whatever she's going through, it's clearly fueling her creativity to come up with such intense lyrics. And to ease people's minds, she claims her songs are nothing but made-up stories. Either way, we need to remember that the performers we follow on Instagram and sing along to on our way to class are only human. Billie has struggled with her mental health in the past, and she's been very candid about how it's taken a toll on her. To add insult to injury, she was diagnosed with something very serious when she was 12. When celebrities are diagnosed with a serious health condition, they don't like advertising it to the world, and we totally get that. No one wants to feel vulnerable in the eyes of the public, and Billie can definitely relate. She never wanted to mention on the internet that she was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome at the age of 12, but when compilation videos of her tics surfaced online, she realized she had to share her story. It was hard for her at first. Tourette syndrome is a neurological disorder that causes people to have involuntary verbal and physical tics. But in Billie's case, she only exhibits signs of physical tics. Even from a very young age, she had to teach herself a few techniques to reduce and suppress her tics because she didn't want people to associate her with her condition. But since it's been with her for a long time, it's become part of who she is today. And as far as being offended by the compilation videos, Billie actually thinks they're kind of funny. And people aren't wigging out because of a few random tics. It's her dark lyrics that has everyone questioning if she's channeling her inner Eminem in a way. Billie seems to hide in a fantasy world where she gets to live out different scenarios, experiences, and dreams, no matter how pleasant they may or may not be. This has undoubtedly helped her write some powerful songs in her young life. But if you're terrified of her, mission accomplished. Billie claims she actually thrives on people being afraid of her. Yeah, this girl's definitely not afraid of a little controversy, right? Her whole confrontational vibe reminds us of the time when Eminem first crashed into the music industry. Parents freaked out and wanted his music banned. While his lyrics were very different from Billie's, they were just as powerful and chilling. Eminem fans might remember how some of his songs eerily described him ending the life of his ex-wife, Kim Scott. There was one song where he talked about sticking her in the trunk of a car and finishing her. Eminem was really good at telling gruesome and chilling stories in his songs. But as far as we know, he's never taken anyone's life, right? But even if his lyrics were nothing but make-believe, they did come from a place of rage, past experiences, and pain. So it's possible that Billie is simply coming up with dark lyrics in order to cope with her own personal struggles. Meanwhile, some major artists are starting to recognize Billie's power. One of them is even comparing her to none other than Kurt Cobain, claiming that thanks to her, rock and roll is not close to dead with her around. Like it or not, Billie is the voice of today's generation, and Dave Grohl has given her his stamp of approval. The Foo Fighters lead singer had a discussion with Live Nation CEO Michael Rapino at Polestar Live's conference. In it, he told Rapino that his daughters are totally obsessed with Billie Eilish. He added that she's doing to rock and roll what Nirvana did in 1991. And he's definitely not kidding either. Music is a part of Billie's body and soul. It's like the very air she breathes. Listen carefully to her lyrics, and you'll realize she almost seems like she's lived a million different lives. So as she continues to drop more singles, she will likely continue to open up some more and leave us even more speechless. Her passion for music is what inspires her to create great work. But just because she has an active imagination doesn't mean it's easy to come up with a hit. In order to create music, she has to dig into a pretty dark place. You can always listen to the naysayers who claim her lyrics are creepy, but you'll be missing out on some great hits. Billie's songs certainly deserve a chance because writing music takes a lot of work. In order to come up with such messed up imagery and haunting lyrics, Billie writes from the perspective of other people. She likes getting into other people's skin, even if we're talking about a serial killer. And it's in this fantasy world where she plays out different roles and comes up with a story. Billie's songs take you to a faraway land where anything can happen. Yes, even murder. But she's obviously not pulling this material from experience. In fact, the single Ocean Eyes was all about being lovesick, but she's actually never been in love. Her brother, Phineas O'Connell, has though. It's why she had him write the lyrics. But this song still came from her imagination. She's undoubtedly had a couple of issues writing music because it's the same as writing a story. And like most writers, Billie has dealt with writer's block. And yet, she feels like she can literally write about anything because you don't have to go through something to write about it. This philosophy has allowed her to write from the point of view of a serial killer in the song Hostage. In effect, Billy's writing is sort of like a detoxing experience. She gets to lose herself from the world, and that includes a much-needed break from social media. It's hard to imagine that anything could scare this talented musician, but there's one thing that freaks her out, and no, it's not spiders. It's actually social media. And as far as she's concerned, it's 100% evil. It terrifies her to see the power it has over teenagers like her. It's not easy transitioning from a teen to an adult, especially when everything gets magnified and dissected on social media. It's why most kids are feeling mentally drained. Living in the digital age makes things a lot worse. There are tons of cons to social media. One of them is cyberbullying, which is at an all-time high. But despite being conscious about the many problems that come from having a platform, Billie doesn't entirely hate social media. She knows it's the only way for her to truly connect with her fans, who she considers more like family. But the teenager understands that social media can also ruin friendships, relationships, and individuals. It can damage the way you feel about yourself on the inside and on the outside. It's why she thinks social media has so much power over people. Despite that, she's grateful it exists because she wouldn't be able to have such an open connection with her fans without it. But perhaps people are starting to question if Billie's influence is working against troubled teens who are struggling with their own personal demons. But is Billie Eilish really the reason why Generation Z seems to be so depressed? Now, some people seem to think she's the queen of misery because of her emotional songs. Some might say that some of her lyrics are gloomier than others. We get that songs about sadness and locking people up in treasure chests can push teens off the edge. But despite the depressing undertones, Billie's music isn't really the reason why teens are suffering from anxiety and depression. Billie isn't here to bring anyone down, but rather lift the veil and show the world that she's a normal human being too. She's also fighting with demons from the past and her own mental struggles. And if there's one thing this super talented star seems to be obsessed with, it's telling stories. She's just an artist who happens to be absolutely rocking the game. If anything, her music is more of an emotional outlet that lets teens reflect on their grim views of the future. And fans are finding comfort in her relatable songs, especially when they feel lost and defeated. It might explain why they listen to Billie with such devotion. She's trying to define her own style while doing her best to stand out in a sea of musical talent. Billie only wants to leave a good impression on her fans and hopefully change somebody's life. And we've got to say, mission accomplished, Billie.